more.
Hey Adventures, today we are doing another book tag. This is the Unpopular Opinions Book Tag. We were tagged by Bookish Chaz most recently, and a while back, as in like 2 years ago, we were tagged by A World of Endless Pages, and so we're finally getting to this one. We didn't do it when we were first tagged because we didn't have good answers back then. Hopefully now we've read some more stuff and we have some better answers. So,
jump right in.
Go ahead, you read the questions this time.
A popular book or series that you didn't like.
So this is not actually that I dislike the book. It's more of that I didn't like it as much as everybody else seems to, and I didn't like it as much as the book 1 and book 3, and that's book 2 of Wheel of Time, The Great Hunt. It was really hard for me to get through this one for some reason. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed a lot of the things that were happening and a lot of lore things that were being shown and built up, but overall it just didn't really work for me nearly as well as it could have or maybe should have. I don't know.
The book series I chose is The Ranger's Apprentice. I only got through the first 2 books in entirety and I started the third and I just didn't like it. But it is such a well-loved series that it's almost a little surprising. I mean, maybe not because of my tastes, but... A popular book or series that everyone else seems to hate but you love.
I went with Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is the prequel to The Hunger Games. I don't know that I love it, and I don't know that everybody else seems to hate it, but I feel like it gets a lot of more negative reviews than it has positive reviews, and maybe that's just, I haven't looked at reviews for it in a long time, but I feel like when it first came out, everybody was talking about how they didn't particularly like it, didn't particularly understand it, or whatever it might have been, and for some reason I ended up enjoying it quite a bit.
So my answer is An Animal Farm, or The Catcher in the Rye, and I wouldn't say that I've heard that people love these books or hate these books. What's the question? Everyone seems to hate, but I love. Yeah, I don't think that in general people hate either of these books. I've just heard, 1 or 2 people say that they just really disliked it, and I did love them both a lot. On the same note, The Hunger Games is also one that has a lot of mixed reviews, both directions though. So it's not entirely one or the other, like Tony was saying with Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but it's the same type of answer for The Hunger Games. As I really love The Hunger Games, there's people who desperately hate The Hunger Games. A love triangle where the main character ended up with a person you did not want them to end up with, or a one true pairing that you don't like.
This is one that I actually don't have a great answer for, and I think it's this because these tropes are used more in YA stories, and I don't tend to read as much YA as I do adult fantasy at this point. But it used to be Peeta and Katniss, or rather, I thought that, well, yeah, that's right. I used to not think that Katniss and Peeta should have ended up together, and now, while I don't necessarily disagree with that, I also can see, I'm okay with them ending up together, and she definitely shouldn't have ended up with Gale. Gale had way more issues and that wouldn't have been good. But at the same time, I also agree with Murphy Napier in that I don't think she needed to end up with anybody particularly. So
my answer for this was The Matched from the Matched trilogy by Ali Condi. And first thing I need to say is I never finished the second book.
Third book.
No, third book. I did complete the second book. I never read the third book. So I don't actually know who she ended up with. I just dislike that whole love triangle in general. And that's all my thoughts on this question. A popular book genre that you hardly reach for.
I was thinking really hard and I was like, well, romance is probably the only one that I don't really reach for, but then I realized, you know what, I don't reach for romance at all. It's not really reach for or hardly reach for, I don't reach for it at all. So the only answer that I came up with for this one was nonfiction. I don't really read a whole lot of nonfiction. There is some, and I'm not opposed to it by any means, I don't read it as much.
Same answer for me, nonfiction. It doesn't appeal to me in the same way that fiction does, and I will read it on occasion, but yeah, same. A popular or beloved character that you do not like.
So far at least, and maybe that'll change as I continue through the series, but Egwene Alvear from Wheel of Time. Just a frustrating and annoying character, and I can't stand her at the moment.
I chose Aragon from the Aragon books, and I don't dislike him at all, but he is well loved, and I really don't dislike him. I didn't have a great answer for this, but that's what came to mind. A popular author that you can't seem to get into.
This is going to be an interesting answer, and that's
both of us.
Yeah. Stephen King. And this is not for the reasons that you're thinking. It's not because I've read his books and I just can't seem to like his books or anything like that. It's simply that I can't seem to read his books. I can't get to them. I keep putting them on my TBR or whatever, and I don't end up reading them. they get pushed off. They're the ones that I don't reach for on the TBR pile, and so I'm just like, okay.
My answer was Brandon Sanderson, and this has disclaimers as well. The only books I've read by him are the Mistborn trilogy, and I liked the Mistborn trilogy. Don't get me wrong, I liked the book, but I strongly dislike his writing style, and it's turned me off from a lot of his other stories. Also, I'm not going to read a giant, massive book of Brandon Sanderson. What also is interesting is he likes Brandon Sanderson, and I like Steve. A popular book trope that you're tired of seeing.
Hidden royalty. I feel like I don't see it as often in new books at this point, but for a while there, I feel like every book that I was reading was hidden royalty. I just don't like it. It's so predictable. You meet the character, and then you learn something about, there's a lost princess, and you're like, oh, so this person is the lost princess. Okay, then. And like instantly you know the whole plot of the rest of the book when it's hidden royalty, and I get frustrated with it. It can be done well. I'm not saying that it can't, but that's one of the ones that I'd rather not see a whole lot more of.
I don't know if this is a specific trope necessarily, but pairing off in books. I don't mind romance. I like romance in stories, and I don't mind even love triangles, but I dislike when there always has to be one for every character. It feels like every YA novel you step into, which I love, everyone has to end up with somebody, and come on guys, that's not real life. So. At
least for YA, 17-year-old, 16-year-old.
Yeah, especially for that age. Yeah. For all of these characters to enter lifelong love commitments, it's just unrealistic. At 14 to 17, yeah. Okay, moving on. A popular series that you have no interest in reading.
I really don't have any interest in reading Song of Ice and Fire by G.R.R. Martin. I don't know. Everything I hear about it just tells me again and again that I don't want to read this series. So.
My answer would be the same, except. It would be the same. I was trying to come up with a different answer, so I came up with the Stormlight Archives, which also isn't entirely true, because I'm interested in knowing the story, but I have no interest in putting in the effort and time to read a book by a writer whose writing style I don't like.
Yeah, understandable.
The saying goes, the book is always better than the movie, but what movie or TV show adaptation do you prefer more than the book?
So this one, for the longest time, I didn't have an answer to, until I read Murder on the Orient Express book and realized, you know what, I like the movie better. And that's not to say that the book was bad, it just didn't work for me, whereas the movie worked for me really well, plus Kenneth Branagh, and he's amazing. So yeah, that's about all I have to say on that.
My answer is Ready Player One. I loved the movie. I watched it before I read the book, actually, and I just didn't feel like the book brought out what I loved so much about the movie. So strongly, it was much more muted, so that might be a little confusing.
I understand.
Okay.
I will also add one more thing though. I liked Death on the Nile book better than I liked Death on the Nile movie. Mm-hmm. So take that as you will, I guess.
Were you tagging people?
Yes. So again, I went through and found 2 people that I didn't think had done this tag, and that is Bookends and Biscuits and Dominish Books. So if you guys want to do this tag, please do so. We'd love to see your answers.
Thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure.
We post videos every Monday and Thursday. We have our social medias linked in the description down below. Please like and comment and subscribe if you haven't already. We will see you guys again soon. Stay warm.